Hi everyone, it's Fitz with your daily delivery. Hope you're doing well. I'm peppy. I don't know why. It's a game week. Kansas State has 3 weeks to go in this regular season, 3 games, starting with Oklahoma State on Saturday. Today we're going to talk about why the Big 12 needs to calm the you-know-what down. Just be predictable for a while. Be kind of boring. It might be rather important, but I'll explain right after I tell you that you need to subscribe to this YouTube channel. You just do. I've given you some really compelling arguments in the past, and now I'm just going to ask you, please. Thank you so much. Leave comments, hit the thumbs up, all the good stuff. Big 12's sitting pretty good right now. And by the way, if you didn't watch Texas Tech against BYU and Lubbock, I told you Tech is good. That team has a gear different than any Big 12 team I've seen in a while, a long while. And it includes going back well into the years of Texas and Oklahoma being in the conference. This is a team worthy of playing for a national championship. How do I know that? I've seen those teams in the Big 12. I've covered those teams. I think Tech is one of the better teams in a very long time. Yes, they have a loss. They lost on the road at night to a very good team, the defending champion with a backup quarterback. But that apparently is a really severe loss in the eyes of the voters because Tech is currently behind Texas and Oklahoma, two loss teams in the SEC. So why does the Big 12 need to calm down and be predictable? Well, here's the honest truth. There is a very fringe chance the Big 12 could get 3 schools in the playoff. Fringe. But it's mathematically possible, but you need the voters to understand what they're voting on, which is a big challenge. I admit that. Here's the problem, is apparently wins against the Big 12 aren't as important as losses against the SEC, at least certain SEC schools. Because we see BYU buried down there, well down the list a little bit, and they have 1 loss. That loss is to Texas Tech, one of the better teams in the country. Projected to be the champion of the Big 12, they probably will be. That's their 1 loss. And right now, projections show BYU out of the playoff with 1 loss. That doesn't make sense to me, especially when you're talking about some SEC teams getting in with 2 losses, or maybe 3 when we're all said and done. Here's what we really need as a conference. We need BYU to not lose. We need Tech to not lose. And we need Utah to not lose. See, if there's anyone that should be really upset about their ranking, I believe Utah's around 15. Their losses are to BYU and Tech. You see, when you lose to good teams in the Big 12, it's bad. But when you lose to good teams in the SEC, you get moved up in the rankings. It's just how the rules are working right now. And there's only one way to break the system, and that's to break the system. That's to get as many teams in as mathematically possible and win games. And right now, I truly believe Tech is a team worthy of playing for the national championship, and it might be worthy of a team winning the national championship. I think they're that good. The defense is that dominating. In many ways, it's built like an SEC team. It's not always really fun to watch offensively, but at the end of the day, they get it done. For example, against BYU, they probably should have scored about 7 touchdowns. They were that dominating, but they ended up settling for a slew of field goals. 5, I believe. I stopped counting because I can't count above 4. My bad. But now we're looking at the schedule and we're seeing an opportunity. If Utah can end its schedule at 10-2 and not get into the Big 12 championship because it has losses to those 2 teams that'll play for it. One will be with 1 loss against Arizona State, and the other, BYU's loss will be to Tech. If there's other chaos going on in other conferences, we could possibly see enough teams kind of bubble up and make it into the rankings. I'm not sure if it'll work out that way or not. One of the things working against the Big 12 is the fact that the ACC stinks, and they're going to get in 1 team probably that isn't even in the top 12. They'll just get the gift of having a school in. But now the 4 byes go to the 4 top seeds, which makes sense, but trying to get a really good Texas Tech into that top 4 seems to be a little bit much to ask. We'll see how that plays out. But I'm telling you, and I know K-State fans, your team plays at Utah in a couple weeks, and you want to beat the Utes. There's just something there. You want to have 1 more win. But if things are falling in place, you're going to want Utah to be 10-2. You see, there's no other way to tell a bully they need to respect you and then bloody their nose. You can't reason with them. You can't sit down and have a nice conversation. They will forever see you as a lesser entity, and they can beat you up or push you around. This conference has to get schools in. And 2 is entirely possible right now. It'll be really interesting to see if BYU ends the season at 11-2 with 2 losses to Texas Tech. If they say, "Ooh, you can't be in, you have 2 losses," when it'll be to a really good team. I don't know how it's all going to play out. I know this conference has an upper crust that is playing pretty darn good football. And as I've said, I'm old. I've seen this conference since day one. I covered the first game played in this conference's history. I was in the press box. I've seen a lot of football in this conference. And I'm telling you, Texas Tech is really good. And BYU and Utah, I don't want to meet them on a Saturday in a dark parking lot. I don't know why you're playing a game in a dark parking lot, but I just said that. So I don't want to do that. I think Utah and KC will play on a football field in a couple weeks. I'm not sure anymore. College football is so strange. Maybe they'll change those rules too. We'll see.